Hey everybody, I'm Hugh Brownstone for Three Blind Men and an Elephant, back for a third time in rapid succession. As I've said in my last two videos, it's the silly season once again, Black Friday, Cyber Monday 2019. But beyond the two deals that I've said tower over the rest, Panasonic's Lumix G9 and Fujifilm's X-H1, both priced at a ridiculous $998, the X-H1 with battery grip, I do want to mention two other cameras worthy of honorable mention. I'm talking about Nikon's full-frame 45.7 megapixel Z7, either refurbished for $2,200 or new with FTZ adapter for $2,700, and the 24 megapixel Z6 with FTZ adapter for $1,700. By the numbers alone, these are competitively priced right now. If you want a high-resolution full-frame camera, you're talking $2,500 or $3,500 respectively for Sony's 42 megapixel A7R3 or 61 megapixel A7R4, and $3,700 for the, 47.3 megapixel Panasonic Lumix S1R. If you're okay with 24 megapixels in a full-frame camera, and once more with feeling 99% of us 99% of the time ought to be, you're talking $1,800 or $2,500 respectively for Sony's A7 III or Panasonic's Lumix S1. That $1,800 for the A7 III? Yeah, that is the lowest price I've ever seen it, so if that's talking to you, now's the time to get it. But price is not the only or even primary reason to buy into the Nikon Z system, though, of course, it is the primary reason to do it right now. Now, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I think the Z series got a bum rap at launch, bordering on the hysterical. I liked both the 6 and the 7, which surprised me as I'd never shot Nikon before that point. These are well built, with ergos and IBIS that I think are comfortably better than that found in the Sony A7 series, though credit where credit is due. 61 megapixels and 5.7 million UXGA EVF in the A7R4 are outstanding. I fully understand the value of dual card slots for pros, but one, many pros shot without dual card slots for years, and two, my heart, sympathies, and interest are actually more tightly aligned with enthusiasts, or pros who retain their amateur spirit, as photographers from Andre Cortez to Alfred Eisenstadt insisted is critical. I agree. So I guess the point is, a single card slot is not a fatal flaw for 99% of us 99% of the time. I also understand the concerns at launch about lens selection and build quality, but I think, look, one, the choice Nikon made to emphasize moderately priced, moderately fast, exceptional primes. The Nikon Z24, 35, 50, and 85 1.8s are now available for $1,000, $700, $500, and $800 respectively is great. I also found the 24 to 70 2.8 to be superb, and two, any reasonable understanding of materials science, economies of scale, fitness for purpose, and value should lead one to conclude Nikon made an excellent call here as well. Look, brass helicoid focusing mechanisms, for example, make no sense in an age of dual linear autofocus motors. Mass is the enemy of speed. It's also interesting to note that when you add them up, a Nikon Prime's trilogy, say 24, 50, and 85, which float my boat, would cost about $2,300, 24% less than Sony's excellent 24 1.4, 55 1.8, and 85 1.8. For those on a budget, we're talking plane ticket time, credit card payment time, car payment time. You get the idea. Most importantly, I loved the imagery I achieved with both Zs, stills and video. Claudia and I immediately noticed the difference in our videos here in the Batcave while using the Z7 with this 51.8, even though we were already and remain delighted by our GH5. We were super impressed with the 35 1.8 and again 51.8 on and off the High Line during our street photography workshops. The 24 to 72.8 I used while covering a political rally in Philadelphia was outstanding. Now, you can argue that Nikon's autofocus is still not as good as Sony's. I understand. What Claudia and I saw with version 5 of the firmware for the A9 had me picking my jaw up off the floor, and in early tests, the Z7 AF especially was just poor. Is Nikon's autofocus much better now than it was at launch via firmware upgrades? Yes. Will it continue to improve? Likely. It already has phase detection. Still, as I've said again before, if you're a workaday pro shooting sports, wildlife, or weddings and are not satisfied with any other AF system, really, the only question is, can I get away with an A7 III or do I want an A9 or A9 II? But, sorry once again for repeating myself, but it bears repeating. As soon as you move beyond autofocus, the differences in color science, high ISO noise, and dynamic range at the sensor level among any of these full-frame cameras, especially now that the majority of us consume photography and video on mobile devices, are so small that the basis for selecting one's gear has undergone a profound shift. At no point since the introduction of mirrorless, interchangeable lens, hybrid cameras has gear selection been more about accessible functionality, size, weight, handling, price, and joy. Do I have other nits with the Z's? Yeah. They're missing some things I'd like to see, like pixel shifting or unlimited recording. Their preamps, at least on the Z7, are terrible even now. But both are easy enough to surmount with something like an Atomos Ninja 5 and dual recording, which is what I often do, using even just your smartphone as an audio recorder. Which, when all is said and done, make the Nikon Z Twins and the Nikkor Z lenses for them worthy of honorable mention during silly season 2019. At some point, the market will figure out how good they are and the prices will go back up. For Three Blind Men and an Elephant, I'm Hugh Brownstone. See you next time.